So, the big question is this: how are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough? Use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams. Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. If you like this video, do not forget to hit that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, go ahead and hit the thumbs down button and give us your feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tetranoodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. So, if you're new here, please consider subscribing and do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. Today we will be talking with Celine Santini. Selene has written over 20 books for adults and children, published in 10 languages, and she has sold about 175,000 copies worldwide so far. Her latest book, Kintsugi Finding Strength in Imperfection, has been translated to 10 languages and it has won the Professional Resilience Award in 2019. So congratulations, Selene, and a very warm welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Manuj, for inviting me. I'm very thrilled to be there.
Awesome. So let's start with your latest book, Kintsugi. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what is Kintsugi all about?
Well, actually, it's an ancient Japanese art which dates from the 15th century, which consists of highlighting the cracks of a broken object with real gold, with pure gold. It's a great metaphor for the human being because it means that when you had failures or cracks in your life or a broken path, you can still put gold on your cracks and sublimate your failures. Let me show you so that everybody understands. This is a ball, normal ball. Actually, it's quite perfect. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful ball. But now I show you another one. This is a Kintsugi ball. You see, it's been broken and repaired with gold, a bit like my dress, actually. And that means that, well, whenever you compare, depends on people. But personally, I think this one is more interesting because it shows his suffering and its path.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Thank you.
So can this principle be applied in life? Like how do you apply this principle in human life?
Well, the thing about Kintsugi is that you can apply it to any kind of suffering, whether it's mental suffering, emotional, or physical. And the people who watch a Kintsugi, just by watching it, even if it's a picture, it's like a kind of art therapy. It creates something inside. It's like it's repairing inside when you watch it. Like it gives you hope of being repaired. It gives you the hope that you are worth it, that you need and you deserve to put gold on your cracks. So first, looking at Kintsugi is very powerful. And then what is interesting in Kintsugi is that there are a few steps, like 6 steps to create a Kintsugi. And each of these steps is also meaningful because in each step, you can transpose it to the human being and the self-growth too.
That's cool. That's great. And, in our audience, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, there are a lot of professionals. And as you know, in these scenarios where people are trying to make progress in their careers, they run into a lot of failures and a lot of disappointment. So can this principle of Kintsugi be applied to professional lives as well?
Of course, it can be applied to anything, and especially, of course, entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I know well the subject. In one of my former lives, I say one because I had so many change of careers that it's just this one I'm mentioning now. I used to be a wedding planner, and it's a new business in France. So I trained a lot of wedding planners who wanted to create their own companies. And I always say to them, what would be the worst case scenario? And the worst case scenario would be that your business never takes off. And what would happen then? What would happen would be good though, you know. Even if it's a failure, you still learn. You learn accountancy, you learn marketing, you learn you know, also self-confidence. And I think that when you read the biography of so many successful entrepreneurs, they have had failures before being successful. So failure, I don't consider failure as such. I really consider failure as a first step, like an opportunity to learn. So this is what Kintsugi can brings into entrepreneurship. Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty details a little bit, and maybe you can walk us through the process of how one can apply Kintsugi in their lives, in their personal lives, in their professional lives.
Sure. So do you want to go through the six steps?
Sure. That'll be great.
Good. Yeah, because each of them is actually interesting. The first step, obviously, is when you break the ball, for instance. And in that step, what is interesting is to take a step back on the situation, to evaluate it as a whole. And like that, you don't forget any shard. You see, and you also admit the situation. Because, you know, if you are in denial, if you don't understand that you're broken, you can't progress. You can go on. So this is the first step, to acknowledge that you've been broken. And then you can take the active decision to repair yourself, because you are worth it. And of course, this can be applied to personal life, but also a business. So it's about taking the decision that it's worth it. So this is the first step, break. And steps number 2 is assemble. So you've got your shards, and then you assemble it with a sabi, same word as in wabi-sabi. And the sabi is like a mixture of flour and lacquer, and it holds the ball. And here the symbol is that first you have to look at the patterns of your ball, because since it's been broken, there are some lines, some cracks, and of course each of them are unique. And in general in life, we tend not to take the time to really look at our patterns, you know, and sometimes we reproduce the same mistakes again and again. But if you do take the time to be attentive to your own patterns, you gain some time. You know that this very famous quote from Einstein, I don't know exactly the quote, but it says something like, when you do the same, the definition of craziness is doing the same mistake again and over and hoping for different results. So yeah, just take the time to look at your pattern. It's very important in entrepreneurship. And also in this step, another very interesting thing is sometimes when you break a ball, you might miss a shard, you know, it's too broken or you've lost it. So what is very interesting is that instead of trying to recreate it, you can actually take it from another object. Let me show you so that everybody understands better, because I've got a picture here to see what I mean. Do you see? You see, this bowl was repaired with turtle shell. And actually the result, it's so much more interesting. So of course the symbology here is that in entrepreneurship and in life in general, you can benefit from the outside, you can benefit from the blending of culture. And it's so much more creative and so much more interesting. Just one quick thing here for listeners who are not able to see the what Celine was showing. You can always go to the YouTube and have a look. But it basically was a piece of bowl taken from another bowl, and it repaired the one that was broken. Thank you so much. I forgot that some people don't know watch the video. So the third step is called wait. And why? Because if you don't wait that the sabi is dry, you have to start again. So it's, of course, a perfect metaphor that in life we tend to go so fast and not take the time to reconsolidate everything that we do. And I'm the first one to do these mistakes. I'm really not a patient person. Well, actually, I didn't used to be. Now I hope it's a work in progress every day. So I hope I'm better now. But yes, for instance, when I wanted to create my wedding planning company, I took the decision to quit my job in one day. And my husband negotiates with me that I wait a whole month, and I could wait until only 3 days because I'm not patient person. And when I decided to stop this company after 10 years, I took the decision in 1 second, and it took only me 4 years to close a 10 years business. So just to let you know that I'm not the patient kind of person, but I'm working on that because now with Kintsugi really infused in me now that I practice it, now that I talk about it. And I see that it's so much interesting to take the time to integrate things and to meditate. There's this trend about meditation, and I think it's not by chance. It's because everything is so rushed now. We're not patient anymore, and we need this time to take pauses sometimes. It's very important, whether in business or in personal life, and it goes together, the two of them. And after shall I go on with the 4 steps?
Please. Yeah, please.
The 4 steps is repair step. So in that step, you've got the sabi on the shards, on the cracks. So you sand it, and so that the surface is very smooth. And again, this is very, very symbolic because by sanding it, it's like you get rid of what is not important anymore, like getting rid of your past. So sometimes in entrepreneurship or in personal life, it's important to take the time to get rid of what is not relevant anymore. And then on these cracks, when they are smooth, we put a fine line of bright red lacquer. And this bright red lacquer is so symbolic too, because it creates a bit like some veins, like red veins, like blood on the beautiful object. It symbolizes the life coming back to the object, like, now it's repaired, now it's ready to take a new life, but in a different shape, in a different way. And then the 5th steps is on this red lacquer of nail polish. So you imagine putting some dust gold powder on this kind of nail polish material. It will go inside and it will merge within the cracks. And like that, it will recreate a gold line. And obviously here it's really symbolic too, because this is a moment when you really assume that you are worth it, that you are worth gold. Gold, it's not any metal. This is the most precious metal in the world. So putting gold on a cracked object is kind of a paradox, but it's also a sign of optimism. And the final steps, the 6 steps, is that since it's gold, it's a metal, so you can polish it. So you polish it with a special tool and then it shines. And here it's about assuming your past and telling to the world that you've been broken. You don't hide your cracks anymore. You display them, you highlight them, and you assume them, and you celebrate them.
Awesome. That's beautiful. That's very insightful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, one question that comes to mind is, being, fearful human beings that we are, we are afraid of a lot of things, judgment and our own fears that we pick up from our childhood memories and all that. Once something breaks, it's very hard to, look at it and say, okay, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to repair it. So right at that first step, how do you overcome that desire to just give up and just, let go and not do anything about it?
What is interesting with Kintsugi is that, unfortunately, it does not speak to everybody. From my experience, it speaks principally to the resilient person. In French, the title of my book, the subtitle is called Kintsugi art of resilience. And really, that's true that only resilient people really get Kintsugi because they have already this idea of preparing themselves and knowing that their trials make them grow. So but it's not because you are a resilient person that you don't need help. Sometimes when you're broken and you keep the Kintsugi image in your mind, that really helps you. And then this resilient person who have the Kintsugi spirit in their mind, they can rebuild themselves and then help other people, maybe with other techniques that will be more appropriate to them. But I think that's how it works, that Kintsugi is not for really everybody. For my own percentage, maybe 10% of people really get Kintsugi, but those who get Kintsugi go very deeply into it.
Okay, I see. So, but the point is that, when you see that beautiful bowl after it has been repaired with the golden veins in it, I think that gives you inspiration to be resilient and pick up where you left off and start your work all over again and make sure that you can repair whatever has been broken in your life, isn't it?
It's totally true, Manuj. Thank you. It's very optimistic, Kintsugi. It gives you really hope because this ball, you hesitate of breaking it. It's so perfect. But this ball, it's beautiful. It's interesting. But now you know that if you break it again, it doesn't matter because it will just get a few more lines and a few more cracks, and it will be even more beautiful. So that's the beauty of Kintsugi. That's now that you know that you don't hesitate to take risks, to get out of your comfort zone. You don't think the life the same way. For instance, let me give you a personal example. I've been divorced twice. It's never pleasant to get a divorce. I won't say that the second time I was like, wahoo. But the first time I was really crushed. Well, it was one of the first trial in my life, like very, very intense. And the second time, actually, I kind of knew that I would be able to get through it because I did it once before. It's like the famous "what doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Exactly. So that's the power of Kintsugi.
Awesome, that's great. And then one thing I noticed, it's the lines are so irregular. Like you cannot expect them to be very clean lines, and so the drama of life that unfolds is unexpected. So it creates a lot of anticipation, I think, in a way that let's break it and see what happens.
It's very interesting with Kintsugi that each Kintsugi is absolutely unique in the world, as much as any human being is unique in the world. Because even if you took two processed items like IKEA bowl, for instance, to tell you the truth, these are processed bowls. They were similar at the beginning. But if I break this one now, I will obviously not get the same pattern. But so yes, Kintsugi, that's another. There are so many levels in Kintsugi, but it's another level of understanding. The one you mentioned is that when you watch a Kintsugi, you remember how unique in the world you are, and that's your history and your path is unique in the world. It is what made you, and nobody had the same path.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So now let's get into some, more nitty-gritty details here. So tell us about your entrepreneurial journey and how did you implement Kintsugi in your professional journey?
I am, from the beginning, from my birth, a resilient person. I know how to rebound all the time. So I have, first, I always see the glass half full instead of half empty. And I think that goes very well with the Kintsugi message. So when my path is about change. I always change career, and I change each time. There were two aspects. Either I changed when it was not comfortable anymore for me, or either I changed when I felt it, like intuition. So to tell you a bit more, I started my studies with an international business school, And then I discovered that there was this great industry, unknown B2B industry, which was called flavor and fragrance industry, which nobody knew about, where the perfumer worked in secret to put the flavor in the yogurts or the fragrances that you wear.
Yeah.
And I was very into fragrance. I'm from France, you know.
Yeah.
So I wanted this job so bad. And there's only 5 companies who do that in the world. And I got what I wanted, because I create my own reality, you know, so I put all my energy to create it. So that's a bit the Kintsugi spirit here too. And then it didn't feel right anymore, because it was a kind of a superficial fashion style atmosphere, which I didn't fit into. So I quit from one day to the other again, because I'm quick. When it doesn't feel right, doesn't feel right. I just follow my intuition. And then I went to design industry, because I'm very interested in everything which is related to beauty in general, which again relates to, obviously, to Kintsugi. And then I changed again, because I got married, and I enjoyed so much the organization of my wedding that I thought that it was so right for me, because I am a perfectionist person. When you like Kintsugi, you have to be perfectionist, because it's kind of paradox. It's very imperfect, but you do it in the perfect way, with gold and all this, you take so much time to do it. So it speaks very well to me, this perfectionist aspect. So I was a wedding planner for 10 years. And then I changed, not by my choice, because my mother died, and it was a traumatic experience. Thank you. So I had no other choice, because actually she committed suicide, and I found her body. So I couldn't, go on organizing weddings. That didn't match. So I stopped my company, and it's a kind of, again, a paradox. I will never tell you, oh yes, I'm happy that my mother died. That would be terrible to say. But again, in a way, that created open new doors for me, doors of spirituality, door of self-growth, of self-help, of Kintsugi. So I think that every failure is an opportunity again. And then I went very deep into self-help and writing. And this brings me here to my current job, which is a writer.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Just to share my own story, I had a very similar experience. Like, my mom passed away last year as well. And so
Sorry.
I've seen a lot of transformation from that experience. Obviously it was very sad and everything, but I think, when you go through these traumatic experiences, the life sort of shakes you up, as you put it, like, it breaks you. And then, if you're resilient enough, you can put it back together. And it turns out, in some cases, it turns out much better. You have many more experiences. I think you value time much more. You value your own. Right. You come face to face with mortality, right? It gets lost during regular life. But if you go through this kind of experience, it just puts that kind of urgency to enjoy your life and be happy.
It makes you rethink your life. You're right. Exactly. Did you put gold on your scars yet?
This is the process. This podcast is one way of putting gold in those cracks, right?
So which step are you now? Which step are you? Are you at the break, assemble, wait, repair, reveal, or sublimate step?
I think I'm at wait stage right now.
Oh, it's good. It's already steps 3.
Yeah, exactly. So, but every day is different. Some, if you ask me tomorrow, maybe I'll say I'm at repair stage.
It's not a linear process anyway.
Exactly. All right. So, we talked about a lot of things. Now, let's talk about, you led a tremendous life. You have written so many books, and you have adopted this way of life, which is, very conducive to the way that you think and you work and live. But tell us a little bit about your mistakes. What kind of mistakes did you make early on? And maybe, that those are the things that broke in your life. And walk us through how did you repair them, and and went through this process of Kintsugi?
When people ask me about my mistakes, I have a hard time to answer this question. And I thought about that, and I said to myself, why? Is it because I think that I don't do mistakes? Actually, really not. I'm not pretentious. I don't say I don't do mistakes. But the problem, which is an advantage too, is that I don't consider mistakes per se. Since I always consider mistakes as opportunities, I tend to forget them. I don't do it on purpose. It's like a process in my mind. So, for instance, someone interviewed me, and I was telling my story with big smile and telling him about traumatic experience with a big smile, and say to myself, "You're telling me now about the suicide of your mother, but you are smiling." You see, so it's just I don't do it on purpose, but I just consider them not mistakes but experiences. So it's more difficult for me to remember them. But I could say that one of my mistakes was at the beginning, when I was not an entrepreneur yet. I was fitting in this company, and actually I was not fitting. I'm not so, you understood from what I said before, I'm not the patient kind, and this is what I love about entrepreneurship, is that you can go directly to what is useful. You don't lose time in meetings or unuseful things, unuseful processes. But when I was working in a company, I needed to fit by the rules, to go by the rules, and it didn't comply to me, and I had a hard time. For instance, the other time, my daughter was 2, and the kindergarten said to me, "Oh, your daughter is weird, because there's this box where there are, some shapes, like, triangles, squares, rounds, and you're supposed to, to fit the shapes." And they said to me, your daughter actually opened the box and put directly the shapes instead of doing the process. And I was laughing, because I said to myself, "Oh, it's exactly like me. She's really my daughter." I think actually in a way it's more clever. She doesn't lose time with the process. But it's kind of a problem when you have to fit in. So I had to learn to put a bit of oil. And after, when I was with my own wedding planning company, I had these very upgrade clients coming from the US or the UK who wanted the big wedding in French chateaus. And there I learned, to be a bit more adaptive and smooth, and
Sure. All right, that's awesome. Now, that's an excellent point. We should not treat mistakes as mistakes, but learning opportunities. But out of those learning opportunities, we see that some things work and some things don't work. So, we tend to adopt the things that do work, and sometimes, even bad things, and we call them habits. So, what are your typical habits? What are your typical rituals that you follow?
I'm really into nutrition. I'm a vegetarian. I eat very well. I don't like processed food. It doesn't suit me. So I take the time to cook my own meals. And I'm lucky, because I work where I live. I work at home, so it's easier for me to organize. So nutrition is very important. And also, I'm a very strong believer in the morning miracle. It's really changed my life each time I do it. I must be completely honest with you. Actually, at the moment, I don't do it, and I miss it. But it's just, I have too many things to process, and unfortunately, I don't have the courage to start again. And the most difficult part is when you start, because once this habit is taken, it's smooth. But I need to rework on that. But I still kept the affirmation part. Every day I do this affirmation process, because this is very quick to do. So I really put, I will say what I want in my life as if it's already there. And it kind of works, because I see things are happening magically in my life. I think that it's a question of energy, the energy you put to something, and then it arrives. I say magically, but I'm not sure it's magic. I think it's just, logical. When you put energy on something, there is some return. People sometimes say, "Oh, my God, you are so lucky." but they don't see the work involved. The lucky part is the tip of the iceberg when the doors open, but the doors would not open if you didn't knock on the door.
Yeah, for sure. Now that's very interesting. Affirmations are very important, obviously, and I hope we'll have a dedicated episode about that. But you mentioned something about your morning ritual. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Even though you're not doing it, but maybe it'll be good to tell the audience, what do you do in those rituals?
When I do it, I can tell you what I do when I do it.
Sure.
So I really do. I adapt it from the book, The Morning Miracle bestseller, which is very good. I really recommend to those who might not have read it yet. They called it Lifesavers because SAVERS are the acronym to remember what it is about. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think that it's scribing, which means writing, affirmation. V is for visualizing. E is for I don't remember. Sorry, you'll check.
That's okay. Yeah, that's enough to direct people towards the right.
So what I do is I start my routine with after I splash my face, because this morning is like 6 in the morning. You need to wake up. I start by yoga. I do a 25 session of yoga, which suits me very well. I can't do 1 hour, but 25 minutes is perfect for me. It's very complete, and I end with abs, so that's very complete session. I did yoga for like 10 years, so now I know how to do it alone. And then I do my meditation for 20 minutes. And then I do, at the end of the meditation, I do my affirmation, the one I mentioned just before, something like what I want, actually. I'm spreading the message of the Kintsugi world, of the Kintsugi spirit all around the world. I inspire people. I'm luminous. I'm always in a good mood. I raise my 2 daughters with good mood, and I give them a lot of seeds for them to grow, etc., etc. This kind of affirmation. Cool. Then I visualize something important. For instance, I'm preparing these conferences in English. It's not a TED talk, but I did a TED talk before. So once you did a TED talk, you can't go back. So now I will do all my conferences the TED way. So it's like a TED, but in English. So it's difficult for me because it's not my first language. So I visualize myself like in a success, the success. And they say that every people who do high level sport do that, and it increase their level. And then after I read a few minutes of inspirational books, like self-growth book or self-help books, and I note things down if it's relevant. So that's a very good start for your day, because it gives you energy, and also it's already fit in. I mean, whatever happens now in your day, you've already done that, so it's like it's covered. And then after, I do another session of meditation after lunch. I try different times, but after lunch it really suits me. And I do the MBSR process. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's John Kabat-Zinn who gave back the meditation to the Occidental world, and he created a very easy way to get meditation in your life. So it's like on 10 or 12 weeks, they teach you how to train to meditate, and then after you can do it by yourself. So it's like meditation without any, you don't hear something. You just it's self-conscious and awareness.
Awesome. And you said that it's MBSR,
mindfulness based stress reduction.
I see. Great.
There are trainings all over the world. It's easy to find in the US.
Okay, I'll add that to the show notes so that people can find it easily. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you may want to say to the audience before we wrap up?
Thank you. Yes, I would love to say two things, if you don't mind. The first thing is that I'm coming at the end of July in the USA for my book tour to present my American version of Kintsugi. And I will be in two locations, 24th and 25th of July in Las Vegas for signings and conferences. And in end of July, 31st at the Strand Bookstore in New York, and 2nd of August during a conference at Civic Hall. So if you are around at these dates in Las Vegas or New York, I would love for you to come, and also to contact me beforehand so that we can talk, because as I said before, not everybody gets Kintsugi, but those who do, I so much enjoy talking about Kintsugi with them. So really don't hesitate to contact me. It will be a pleasure. And to the second thing I would like to add is that really never let anybody say to you that you are not worth it, because you are worth putting gold on your scars.
Awesome. That's a beautiful thought. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Manuj.
Knowledge and wisdom. Now, before I let you go, do you have a website as well that people
Of course, I have two websites. One is about Kintsugi, especially Kintsugi. So it's esprit-kintsugi.com. So this is more for the Kintsugi aspect, and for general aspects, it's my name. So if you type my name, anyway, you find me, but it's Celine-Santini.com, and of course, Instagram, Facebook, etc.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Manuj.
Thank you so much. And I hope you come back for another episode and teach us about some other aspects of life.
For next book. Thank you very much, Manuj. Thank you to all of you.
Thanks. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. It will mean the world to us. And again, if you want to be notified about our new content, please consider subscribing to our channel. And now, if you are an existing or an aspiring technology entrepreneur, then I invite you to check out my new online workshop, Bootstrapping Your Tech Startup Dreams. Go to go.tetranoodle.com/boot-podcast and sign up for free. I want to make sure more successful and sound decisions are made every day in your tech projects. Let's start finding solutions to your problems. So go to go.tetranoodle.com/boot-podcast, and I look forward to helping you with your tech startup.